So Luke, what are we going to learn today?
How to guarantee yourself the ability to make more money.
I like that. Let's write this down.
I think it's where we need to start. You know, many times people say, hey, fix different problems in your life. But if you don't fix your financial problems, you don't have to be a multimillionaire, but if you don't fix your financial problems, you don't have the mind space in order to work on other areas of your life. The reason you struggle with your finances and that affects your marriage is because you're focused on the finances. You don't have enough time to focus on your relationship. The issue isn't the relationship. You have to be able to understand that in the game of life, money is important. Not this idea of absorbent wealth, but enough for you to be able to have mental real estate and freedom to then work on other areas of your life. So we talk about business, but business isn't the only way to make money. That's what most people don't understand. And business doesn't mean you have to go and hire employees and have huge staff or have an office. Business is just the ability to transact from one person to the other or from one business to the other. So the question is, am I able to transact? The answer to that is yes. Everybody can transact, and you don't have to do it necessarily in person. So this idea of selling, how people naturally talk about you have to be good at sales, you can throw that out the window. We're not even going to talk about that because we live in a digital era as well. So I call it the trifecta of money. Your ability to guarantee money coming in perpetuity. The first one is understanding that anything that you do needs to be in high demand. Any type of endeavor that you take on needs to be in high demand. If you want to, for example, have a gardening business, it would be very foolish for you to have it in Manhattan because the demand for it is not going to be the same as if you have outdoor, let's say Tennessee or here in the outskirts of London where there's a lot of demand. So whatever you touch needs to be in high demand. I see people being like, hey, I want to start an application. I want to start the next Uber. I want to have these illusions of wealth, but they're actually traps because they're not in high demand or they are not in the second place, which is super important. You have high demand, and then up north, which is going to be my main priority, is you need to be the best. And that's where most people get caught up. Your ability to do something with the best of your abilities will determine whether you're going to be hired or not. Why? Because there's going to be competition. Where there's demand, there's competition. And you don't want to be hired for being the cheapest. You want to be hired for being the best. So most people come into a business and they don't work on their skills. They don't polish the business model. They don't enhance the business model. They don't think about what are the verticals that allow me to do this in a better way. So for example, back to very essential basic businesses, plumbing, electrician, homeschool teacher, all these things. How can you do it better than your competition? High demand, your skill set, and then finally, it needs to be, we'll call it irreplaceable. Irreplaceable. You need to be irreplaceable. We are entering an era right now where AI and social media and automation is going to start quickly taking jobs. So why would I go into copywriting when any business in the next 12 months could replace me?
I say that about people becoming doctors, robotics and AI working together.
So you need to also, this one's an alarming one because you need to be irreplaceable in what you do. So when we're starting communities, we understand the irreplaceable factor of in-person relationships. AI can't replace that. So you need to be able to build on a solid foundation. You need to be in demand, you need to be irreplaceable, and then you need to be the best at what you do. If you can do these three things, you assure yourself the ability to make money. And I don't want to give a specific business model because it applies to anything that you do. It can even apply to your job. So why would you get a job at McDonald's that anybody can do when there's no skill attached to it? You'll get paid in proportion to the difficulty of the problems that you solve. So if you solve better problems, you'll get paid in proportion to that. So you don't necessarily need to go out of your way and start a business. You just need to get a job that is in high demand, that not a lot of people can do, be the best at it, and make sure that you can't be replaced. We saw this during the whole metaverse kind of experience where Facebook rebranded to Meta. They were hiring engineers and paying them 50% on top of whatever it is that they were usually getting because they were irreplaceable. And Google would come and be like, hey, we'll hire you for an extra 30%. And because they're irreplaceable pieces, they secured their ability to transact. Because all you're doing as an employee is you're selling your services to a business. Whether you believe it or not, you're kind of an entrepreneur. You've just labeled it differently with the W-2 or whatever it is that you have in the paperwork, depending on your country. But if you're the best at what you do, which this is fully in your control, select something that's in high demand by observing the marketplace. Oops. And then finally, be irreplaceable in any endeavor, and you can secure yourself the ability to make money in perpetuity.
So people are listening to this. So I actually totally understand this, but I'm thinking for people that won't, they might be asking themselves, well, what's not going to be replaceable? Maybe we could get into that today.
Let's do it.
What's high demand actually mean? Because you can create demand.
Yes.
I mean, Prime, for example, that drink wasn't in demand until they made it in demand. They partly did it through scarcity, right? So that we can teach people a little bit about how to become high demand, what high demand means. And then the best for me is a really interesting thing, because sometimes like the iPhone's not the best product. But actually, Samsung Android is a better product, but people still want the iPhone. So it's interesting because if you can get the high demand, you can almost outflank some of these things.
Yes, but this is also considering that best doesn't necessarily mean tech.
True.
Best can also have to do with convenience.
Yep.
People buy the iPhone because of the iMessage.
Yeah, and they also buy because it's a package.
Yes, it's the experience of the entire thing.
The other side of it, for people that might be listening that presently are working in McDonald's, here's the irony. I've hired people who were a brilliant waiter in a restaurant. If they're the best in the restaurant, they're looking after customers, they're really attentive, they're polite, they're charming, whatever it is, they're using all their skills, they're being the best at it. I'm like, wow, I would like that person to come and work with me. So you might be the best in McDonald's, and that will give you opportunity, right? So being the best in general, wherever you are,
yes.
whatever you're doing, even if you're in that shit job, will give you opportunities.
Yes.
So people need to learn to be the best. So can we break down these things, do you think?
Yes, I mean, there's a couple things. For example, high demand. So there's two things with high demand, right? You look at trends, and then you look at narratives. So with trends, it's these small explosions, right? You look at a fidget spinner. You know, that's a high demand trend.
You can bring it back just by mentioning it, right?
Exactly.
But just spin a link down below, affiliate link.
So you have these trends, right? You have these small little bursts. We see them in social media. Now more than ever, these trends last 2, 5, maybe 15 days. People, for example, Donald Trump got shot. People started drop shipping the shirt of him pumping the fist. It lasted maybe 3 days, but I saw a couple guys making $100,000 in 48 hours because it was a trend that was in high demand. So if you want to focus on this is like fast money. A pair of sneakers that Travis Scott releases that are private, that's a trend. You don't know if he's going to be around in 10 years. You do a quick flip, sell it for a couple hundred
Good
extra
skill
bucks.
practice.
It's a great practice. Yeah. But you find something that's in high demand based off of trends. What I like to do is narratives, long-term plays. So what is a narrative? A narrative for me is AI is going to replace digital experiences. Therefore, people are going to crave physical experiences. So that to me is a long-term narrative that makes me operate differently. Initially, when you're trying to hustle and make your first money, you want to be on the trends. You want to the next thing till you build up your cash flow. Eventually, you want to get into your narratives, your long-term plays. When people are like, you know what, back in the day, digital taxis and the ability to just order a taxi through an application, that's a long-term thought. If you get into that, you're expending time, energy, resources, and narratives, believe it or not, are also riskier because it's you trying to predict the future. With the trends, you're acting upon the present moment. Mm-hmm. So this is usually how I think about demand. Mm-hmm. Now, you can create it artificially. If you're on the marketing side, you can create trends and you can create narratives. We can go into distribution. We can go into hiring key opinion leaders. We can go into influencing social media. We can go into distributing your clips. There's many ways to fabricate demand. And then the second one is the narratives are a little bit more difficult because narratives tend to take longer time to play out. They're longer transitions. So these, in the trading world, you would consider trends kind of like your day trading plays, and your narratives are kind of like your long-term plays. Like you buy NVIDIA, understanding that the chips in processing is going to be something valuable in the future, and 20 years later it skyrockets. So that's a long-term narrative. The trend is, look at all the other AI stocks that are now pumping because of NVIDIA. Do they deserve to pump? No, but it's part of the trend. Same thing with crypto, right? Does it operate on narrative? Bitcoin may operate on the narrative of, hey, it's fair money, it's open ledger, but inside of crypto you have trends, like meme coins. Are meme coins and Bitcoin correlated? No, but it's a trend that now happens because of the macro narrative. So if you understand narratives and you understand trends, you can assure yourself to make money, because where attention goes, money flows. We know that. So you have to go where the demand is. So that's breaking down demand. Now, when it comes to being the best, how I categorize the best is you have your what will you call your variables, and then your fixed best. Your variables are going to be depending on the specific job. So actual like hard skill type things. Are you the fastest? Are you the most resilient? Things of this nature. Do you know the skill set in the profession well? And then you have your fixed, which is something that every person should develop. Do you show up on time? Do you show up with a good attitude? Are you trustworthy? Are you reliable? These are your fixed variables that nothing can basically waver regardless of your job. These are the essentials, which is your character, your attitude, the intrinsic things of how people perceive you. And then you have your variable kind of attributes, which is in accordance to the job. So mentioning them, let's say I mentioned e-commerce. Well, I need to be the best in understanding supply chain. I need to be the best in understanding cash flow management. I need to be the best in running Facebook ads. I need to be the best in product research. Do I have to do that later on? No, you can eventually hire people to do it. But the reason you want to know it is because you want to know every aspect of your business. And the business basically grows alongside you. So the better you become, believe it or not, the better the business will be, because the business only reflects you.
Mm. There's a hack around this as well, which I've discovered is, let's say I'm personally not very good at accounts, that side of business. I'm good at marketing, not good at accounts. So if I want the best and I want to be the best, I do co-founder businesses. So when I start a business, I get that person in as a co-founder. It doesn't have to cost me any money to bring them in. So people listening don't have any money. You get a co-founder, but you get that best in-house from day one. So you don't have to go and learn accounts if that's something you're not good at, right? Yes. But you need A players in your business. That's I agree. This is partly it too, right?
And you don't need many people. That's what most people don't understand. You can do a lot more damage with 300 Spartans, right? Yeah. So what you need to do is find those individuals that cover the bases that are essential for a business to succeed that you can't cover. And if you fall under the delusion that you can cover everything, then that's a fallacy. Maybe in the next couple of years when AI can become the best co-pilot partner, and you don't have to shell out equity or sweat equity to anybody, that future may come. We'll see billion-dollar unicorns by a single.
But it's going to be more competitive at that point too.
Exactly.
So
but right now we live in a situation where, once again, you have your variables. If you can't build them out, make sure you find somebody that can cover those bases. But then you have your fixed variables, which is the things that are undisputed, that people intrinsically value and consider you the best at or not. It can be like leadership. Are you a good leader? Like, are you somebody that's accountable? These are skills that matter more than the other, because you can train the other things. These things come from inside. And then irreplaceable. It comes back down to trends and narratives. You need to look at, is e-commerce, me selling on Amazon, the most ideal thing? Yes or no? Why? Should I be selling on Shopify? What's my thesis? And different people do business differently because they have different understandings of trends and narratives. So just make sure that you're irreplaceable. Pick something, do something that gives you longevity. You don't want to be restarting a new business every 2 years. You want to take your time and build something that's going to be on a solid foundation, irreplaceable, undisputable, and that you're not going to have to be competing with robots that are going to be really cheap, cost efficient, and working 24/7. You need to understand that you got to be playing the future game because the world is accelerating. There's something called Moore's Law. And Moore's Law dictates, right? We kind of have like the exponential growth curve. It's about technology, right? And Moore's Law dictates that technology every 2 years gets twice as powerful at half the cost. And it only gets more exponential. So you start with the telegram. Oh, well, how expensive is it to transfer a message? Well, we got to set up poles all throughout the Midwest. And okay, well, what's next? It's the radio. Well, what's next? Is the TV. Well, what's next? Is the cell phone. Well, what's next? Fucking implants in your head, telepathic communication, like exponential curve. So you need to make sure that whatever you're tapping into, you're understanding that this exponential curve is growing, whether you like it or not. And that's what I tell people is the rules of the game are the rules of the game. You're on the board. The rules are set. If you understand how to play it, you're going to play it. The world doesn't work based off of what you want. The world just is, and you have to play the game.
The irreplaceable bit, I think, is the hardest thing for people to grasp. I'd like to go deeper on the other two subjects, but irreplaceable, like, I don't think I'm irreplaceable. Okay, so as an individual, I've got a social media presence, but who am I I'm easily replaced. It's an interesting problem. I think, maybe using myself as an example, okay, I've got 8 million followers online, so I built up an economic moat of sort. Brands will want to use my service, but I'm not irreplaceable. There's other people out there that can help, for example, promote a brand. But I think where you become irreplaceable, maybe you can define it better than this, but like, if you're the best at something, and people, so for example, people like working with you, and you're good at it, they won't want to replace you.
Reputation,
yeah. Right. I think that's something that people wonder when they're listening. They might be listening, how do I make myself irreplaceable? I actually think that reputation in particular is totally underrated as a tool to become irreplaceable.
I agree.
Like, there's plenty of people out there that could learn from many other people, but if you become good at the best at something, I think this best thing is the key to it all. Because I also think the best thing, it links to what school doesn't teach you. And I know we're both anti the school system. I really think the school system's let a lot of people down.
Yes.
Because what the school system says is, you're not good at these things, practice them more.
Yes.
But the one thing you are good at, it's like, okay, well, you're okay at that, so don't worry about it.
Don't worry
you should
about it.
double down on the thing that you're good at.
Yes.
And get even better, become the best at it.
Yes.
So back to your point here, like, a lot of people are not making themselves irreplaceable because they're not doubling down on what they're actually good at. They're being told what they're not good at and wasting too much time on that stuff. Do you think?
I agree fully. And then you add to that the fear of failure.
Right.
So we need to define risk and we need to define reward, because what people don't seem to understand if they're trying to make money is that these things are something that you have to input and do before the money comes. Money is a lagging indicator of your ability to master these three areas. And money will come. You don't plant a seed and just wait for it and it's going to grow the next day. If you have the paycheck mindset, you're not going to be able to be the best at what you do.
You get addicted to being average. I just really want for people to remember that reputation. Because, a lot of people are going for the fast money. And maybe in trends, they do things that will hurt their reputation. I
agree.
Which eventually will mean that they are replaced, not irreplaceable. People can't work with you because you're not thinking long term.
Yes.
And so in the irreplaceable bit, let's talk trends for a second. Like, I think about what's happening in the future of AI, and I think, the line, this isn't my line, but I like it, which is like, AI is not going to take your job. Someone using AI is. So what do you think, if people are listening, are there potentially proof? I used to say recession proof, but now with AI proof, what do you think?
In the short term, the most AI-proof thing that you can have is money.
Right.
So figure out how to make money.
Right.
I know that sounds crazy.
No, you're talking about, frankly, every government, every big business has cash reserves. Right now, businesses have the most amount of cash reserves they've ever had because they're waiting for something big to happen, like AI, and destroy their businesses. So cash. I actually think that's a good point.
So you need to have money. So you need to focus on what's going to make you money, without compromising your reputation, without disabling your ability to be irreplaceable in the future, whether it's because of reputation or you do something dumb, who knows, whatever. The point is, cash is extremely important. The second thing that's important is your connections. Because in the future, what's going to matter is who knows you and who likes you, because AI is going to automate most of our human experiences. So if you fall under a standardized system, which most people will fall under a standardized system, you're going to be screwed. When social credit scores come out and you have to abide by them, and if you say something on social media that's not allowed about the school system, well, then you can't drive X amount of miles out of your... Well, you need...
This is already happening in China, by the way. I lived in Asia for 20 years. It's already happening. If you cross the road when the light is red, you lose a point.
Yes.
And you get 10 points. You get banned from certain
jaywalking.
Things. Yeah, it's crazy. So this is coming.
Yes. So I'm thinking in the future, right? I'm thinking position yourself in the future, who you know, but not just who you know, but who knows you and who likes you. So it goes back to reputation, right? Reputation precedes everything. Your reputation needs to be unassailable. Then you need to have money. Why do you want money? Because when you have money, you can't be bought. You can't be bought.
They can't stop you because you don't need that money.
And you don't need a lot of it. You need enough to be able to have that mental space freedom to do.
How much do you think people need to try and get?
So the first thing is, one thing is people understanding that most of their problems in life are self-induced. So the amount of money that you're spending on rent is because you chose to spend it. The amount of money that you're spending on food or eating out or bad habits, that money that you spend was your choice. So first of all is get rid of.
This is self-sabotage you're talking
Yes.
about here, yeah.
Get rid of
I'm spelling that right.
leaks in the boat.
Yeah,
That's the
write
first
this down.
thing.
What people need to check on themselves, like the list for the people to understand, folks listening to understand what they need to do to make sure they don't fall into these traps.
We'll call it small L's. The small losses that you discredit every single day. The waking up late, the eating that extra bag of chips, that spending that money on that t-shirt that's $50 that you don't fucking need because you already have 9 shirts and you don't need 12.
Well, you've been tricked into buying that stuff most of the time.
So it's the small L's, it's the death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? It's the small jabs that you think are irreversible mistakes, but they're not because they compound, like credit card debt. So small L's, you need to be able to take over your small L's. Most people think about the big stuff, but life is what? A cumulative of small decisions. So now what's next? This is a big one because we're talking mindset now, because we're talking self-sabotage. Grace is how you interact with yourself. Because if you take small L's, you're going to have an attribute, and we'll tie it back to where we were talking about failure, an attribute that you're a loser. But taking small L's doesn't mean you're a loser if you treat yourself with grace, knowing that this is the first time you've played the game. So if you understand it's the first time you play the game, then you're going to treat yourself differently. Why is it that people don't treat themselves with grace? Is because when failure enters a situation, and this is what you get graded on, you get humiliated. You get put in the back of the class, they make you repeat and go with younger kids, making you feel stupid. They ostracize you, they make your parents upset. So anytime failure is a possibility in your realm of getting rid of small L's, you don't want to try.
Yep.
Why? Because failure's bad. But failure isn't bad. Failure just is. And you're going to fail more than you succeed in the moment you accept that you want to fail more.
I love failing. I look for it. I look for ways I can fail so I can learn.
And by failing, you become what?
The best.
You become the best.
How can we help people learn? Because we hear it, oh, failure's good, and I think people hear that line and they go, why would it be good? How can we help people fail? I mean, is there a mechanism for testing out?
Yes. So it's very simple. It's understanding the pain that comes with perfection and the pain that comes with progress. If I want to go to the gym, I'm going to feel weak before I get strong. If I go to business class, I'm going to feel stupid before I'm smart. If I go hang out with wealthy people, I'll feel broke before I'm rich. And the negative comes with the positive. You have to go through it. And once you understand that that's just part of the process, then you accept it.
Totally right.
So it's like, you need to feel like a loser in order to be a winner. And what I've found valuable is understanding how do you avoid the small L's. Like, okay, I commit, Luke, I fuck up, Luke, I mess up. How do I stop? So how are you in a situation where you can guarantee your ability to reduce your small L's? The small losses, the small failures, per se, that are holding you back.
I've never been happier to be a person's whiteboard wiper. Go ahead.
One is make it so easy to win that it becomes difficult to lose. If you're struggling with your diet, why the fuck would you have cake in your house? You're setting yourself up for loss. If you have debt, why do you have a credit card? Make it so easy to win that it becomes impossible to lose. Just make it easy for yourself. Position yourself. If you have cigarette addiction, why do you have a pack of cigarettes in your car?
Don't hang out with people that smoke.
It makes no sense. You need to position yourself. Make it easy. Positioning. Positioning is key. The reason we are where we are today is because we understand how to position ourselves. Make it so easy to win that it becomes impossible to lose. That's what you do with your small L's because you don't want to be thinking about it. 2, commitment. Something that most people have forgotten about. Most people have no ability to commit to themselves, let alone commit to others. What do you have to commit to? One thing. A goal. most people don't have a goal.
That's why I ask people what their dream is, because that gives them at least a chance. That most people don't know it.
They haven't even thought about it.
No, so that as soon as they think, oh, I'd like to do this, then you have a goal. How are you going to get there?
And I can tell people how to get there, and we'll discuss it, because there's some very basic instruments to achieve anything in life, but you need to know where you want to go. And then you have to commit to that. If you don't commit to a goal, you're going to be like a ship without a rudder, just spinning in circles, directionless. Most people feel purposeless because they don't have a goal. And once they've told themselves, I have a goal, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to start this business, or, you know what? I'm going to do this thing that I said I was going to do. They have no ability to commit. And what happens when you stop committing to something? You become a liar. And most people lie to themselves. So what happens if I lie to you every single day? Are you going to trust me?
Definitely not.
Are you going to be confident in me?
Definitely not.
So why would you be confident in yourself if you're always lying to yourself? Of course you're not going to trust your ability to accomplish your goal, because you know that you're going to lie.
Yeah. It's the number one thing I look for. I've got a team of 14 people that help me do this, and I basically would, if anyone ever lied to me, I would never work with them again.
You can't.
I just can't trust someone who lies, and I don't. But people lie to themselves. That's the real problem.
And you need to be able to identify yourself not as a person that's living inside, but you need to position yourself like a stoic and look at yourself from the outside and ask yourself, hey, I've committed to something. I'm just going to follow my goal. You can't look at yourself as a first-person individual. You have to look at yourself like you're playing a video game of you. And if you're playing a video game of you, why would you self-sabotage? So first of all, make it easy to win.